It's the All Progressives Congress Convention Day when the ruling party's flag bearer will be made known to us Nigerians. And you know that Channels Television is there and we will get to all the action and decision live. But just before we get into that, let's do some business here on Business Morning. You're welcome. I'm Imi John Mekwa. We start with the news that came in that the confidence index of CEOs in the manufacturing sector has declined for the first quarter of 2022. According to a survey conducted by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, the CEO's confidence index declined by 1.5% to 53.9 points in the first quarter of the year from 55.4 points recorded in the fourth quarter of last year. Man says that the worsening structural and fiscal challenges coupled with the impact of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war has dampened the enthusiasm of manufacturers in the country's economy. It, however, notes that despite the decline in the confidence index in the first quarter, the MCCI figure remained above 50 points, indicating confidence of the sector in the economy is not totally lost. From there, we'll also tell you that 3 years after unveiling the name and logo of the new national carrier, Nigeria Air, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, has issued an air transport license to the interim management. Presenting the document to the Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria Air, Dapo Olumide, the Director General of Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, Mr. Nuhu Musa, says that this will help boost Nigeria's economy. He says this will be followed by the issuance of the Air Operator Certificate, which will enable the airline to commence operation.
Operations, licensing and training. It's a step, one of the certificates required towards scheduled passenger operations, and is a big step forward in the processing of the Air Operator Certificate AOC, which is presently ongoing. It's very important for us to have strong airlines in Nigeria in view of the single African air transport market and the African Continental Free Trade Area, which can make significant contribution to the growth of the Nigerian economy. We have one of the largest markets, if not the largest market in Africa, and we stand to gain the most from this AU Agenda 2063 programs. So welcome on board. We hopefully you guys will start flying soon, and like other operators in Nigeria, we hope we actively participate in single African air transport market for the benefit of the national economic growth and a greater contribution of from the aviation industry to the gross domestic national product. The more we contribute, the more industry contributes, the more we will become influential in the scheme of things in national economic planning and otherwise in the nation.
And that was to welcome you to the commodities market segment here on Business Morning. Let's start with what's going on with oil prices. It's hedged higher today on an expected demand recovery in China as the world's second biggest economy relaxes tough COVID-19 curves and on doubts that a higher output target by OPEC Plus producers would ease tight supply. Brent crude futures went up 28 cents at $119.79 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures went up also 31 cents, $118.81 a barrel. The benchmark hit a 3-month high yesterday at $120.99, almost $131. Well, Beijing and commercial hub Shanghai have been returning to normal in recent days after 2 months of painful lockdowns to stem outbreaks of Omicron variant. Traffic bans were lifted. Restaurants have been opened for dine-in service from yesterday in most parts of Beijing. Last week, OPEC Plus decided to boost output for July and August by 648,000 barrels per day, and that's 50% more than previously planned. planned. Well, to help us internalize this and how it affects us, not just in Nigeria, but globally, we have Bolanle Agbaje from Financial Derivatives. Good to see you, Bolanle. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. So, I mean, yesterday when I saw the price at $120 and above, yeah, huge. Yeah. I don't know, have we hit that before now?
Not in the past 5 years or so. We've been struggling, to hit that level, but like this new price era that we're currently in is kind of unprecedented.
Yes.
OPEC Plus is greatly, I'm sure they're in a happy place at the moment, despite the fact that, they've decided to increase output, but it's not really reflecting on
I think that was from July.
For July and August.
It's not affecting prices yet.
Yes, so no. So there's that signal effect that is supposed to, have its impact on prices as soon as they say, because that's usually the trend when it comes to commodity prices. Once there's a particular news in the market, it's actually supposed to affect prices now. But it seems like, the sentiment around demand is quite huge.
Yeah, I think that got knocked off by the easing of lockdown from Beijing,
yes,
Shanghai, and all that.
Easing of lockdowns, and more importantly, the fact that we're approaching the summer period, and, demand expectations are usually very, very high during that period because of travel and, other factors that, usually spring up during the summer period. Especially in the U.S., I think it's usually their peak period for oil demand during, at least between the months of July, August, and September.
So demand is most certainly going to
definitely,
increase, and then the 648,000 may not really.
It wouldn't. And on the demand side, I think that's why Saudi Arabia has come out to actually increase the price of Arab lights.
Yes, I was going to say. A lot of countries that are depending on Saudi Arabia now asking them to increase their output.
Yes.
And now they're increasing their price. They want to make too much money at this time.
No, but also at the same time, I think Saudi will definitely increase output, but some of the other OPEC Plus members, I think a lot of them are still constrained and are still struggling to actually meet the output target now, compared to the fact that, they actually have to also increase. Nigeria, for one, was still, managing and struggling to get...
Yeah, but we have some news that crude has gone up about 50% in 3 months.
Yes, as expected, between the first quarter compared to, Q4, we had seen a significant rise in the price of oil. So it's expected that...
Oh, is it the price that brought that about, or is it the output itself?
So it's actually supposed to be both. But from our own research, it seems like it was more driven by the price. But it could have been much more than that.
Yeah,
if
because
we had...
I think, was it last month or so, we had 70,000 barrels increase in our output.
Yes, so, and we do expect that should also increase further in Q2. Although in the month of, in the second quarter, we had a lot of, shutdowns, pipeline vandalism,
Has that been dealt with?
Well, we don't know.
Politicians are really busy at this time.
They're very, very busy.
Very busy at this
the
time.
atmosphere is really clouded right now. And, the pressure on expenditure as well is quite huge. So I'm not so sure. But I think, we've been able to boost or actually keep our supply to a stable position. But increasing our supply at the moment is quite tough.
Does it look like we can meet up with this new quota we've been given?
I do hope that we do, because we can actually benefit.
Not magic. It's not magic. I mean, if you don't sow a seed, you shouldn't expect harvest. If you don't invest in your infrastructure, if you don't have security there, I don't think it just happens automatically.
Yeah, and also coupled with the fact that, the Minister of Finance actually announced that they cancelled, the Eurobond. Yes, and this was owing to, unfavorable market conditions due to overpricing. So at this point...
But that's just postponing the evil day, isn't it? We still need to fund the budget.
Yes, we do.
We are still going to borrow.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
so it's more or less, going back to the fact that if we actually boost our oil supply, it would actually, cover up our expenses, at least in the interim.
And unfortunately...
And also the subsidy aspect as well.
Yeah,
Nigerian...
because when we're celebrating $120, we're also increasing using our subsidy.
Yes, we are. And the National Bureau of Statistics actually came out to say that we currently fund, our subsidies are currently about 45% of our import bill, which is quite huge. That's
almost half.
It's almost half. And, you know, the World Bank, the IMF, they've come repeatedly to mention the fact that we need to cancel these subsidies.
Yeah.
But I think the government is kind of scared of the fact that, you know,
politics.
they don't, not apart from politics, also the strikes from the National Labour Congress and all of that disruption in the market. I don't think they're ready to, you know, face such
and
heavy...
remember that scary report from the IMF that in 2026 we might be using 100% of our revenue to service debt, not to pay off the debt, but to service the debt.
Yes,
you know.
And there'll likely be some debt default. You know, it's more or less put the country in a very weird position. And I don't know, well, going forward, I'm sure, actually, whoever comes in, you know, to take over this burden that has been left, I really want to see what...
I believe we should have more of these conversations, because sometimes I feel, or it looks like, the politicians are carried away with, oh, I want to be the #1 man in Nigeria.
Yes.
But do they really look at the duty or the job that is cut out for them? I mean, yes, you can be a flag bearer, you know, you want people to vote for you, but I mean, we're still mourning, you know, the war incident.
Yes.
We cannot run away from that.
Yes.
We can't run away from the issue of insecurity, which is affecting manufacturing, affecting our revenue, affecting our output. We can't even meet up with our OPEC-given quota.
Yes.
So where do we get the money from? The CEOs now are saying they're losing confidence in the manufacturing sector.
Are.
So non-oil sector has a problem. Oil sector has a problem. Where do we get this revenue
so
from?
it's very clear that it's a very difficult job. And it has to do with the fact that, you know, we've made several mistakes in the past. And trying to actually come out of those, you know, mistakes is going to be a very, very challenging, you know, challenging thing for whoever comes to acquire this. And, you know, the level of insecurity, we had come here to say numerous of times, we're just actually seeing the impact of it. When the level of poverty rises in a country, that's what is expected. A lot of these bandits, you know, apart from the fact that some of them could be politically motivated, but you also have the fact that some of them are actually struggling as well. So when you have that level of imbalance, the spread between the rich and the poor is quite huge and still increasing. You definitely would face situations like this. And it's in most countries, whenever there's politics around, I think it's actually normal to focus the energy on that. But the difference between Nigeria and some of these, you know, Western countries, the fact that once they get into business, they're ready to, you know, make an impact in their country and leave a legacy. I don't think Nigerians, you know, have that kind of mindset.
And even before they get into that political period, I mean, you would have felt the impact that, oh, there are some intentional. So, for instance, we've been talking about the war going on in Ukraine. We hear how Russia has blocked the Black Sea, so Ukraine cannot send grains.
Yes.
Now, I think we have a deal with Russia to give us some wheat and you know, but these are just little drops there. You know, what is our long-term plan, for instance, to be independent?
The long-term plan is very bleak at the moment. You know, we also have the issue of power blackouts as well.
Yeah.
That, you know, we mentioned in the slides. The past week or so, every Nigerian can attest to the fact that we've had, you know, issues with our power. And once you don't even have that necessity, it's very difficult for any agricultural, you know, producer or manufacturer, apart from the fact that they're growing these particular grains, storing them becomes a problem because you actually need power to sustain, you know, this particular produce. And also distribution. Diesel is quite scarce at the moment, still increasing.
Diesel, road infrastructure, rail, we've been talking about.
It's quite a big burden for whoever comes into power.
Yeah, so we do hope.
I do hope that there's a big change. Although it seems like APC has come up with someone different. I don't know how true that is yet.
Well, we don't want to dabble into that. All we want to say is, please, our politicians, as you're coming in, these are some of the issues we would really like for you to focus on sincerely. You know, we have the security issue. We have manufacturers not being able to access raw materials. Funding, interest rate, that's another area. There's the FX issue. There's the infrastructure. There's the power. So please, as you're coming in, the business and the economy coming. They are begging that you give attention, you know, to this. These are realities. You know, it's not just about the campaigns and the words that we see.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So what else is going on in the commodity space?
So in the commodities market space right now, we're seeing hike in most of the commodity prices, at least domestic commodity prices, and that's, you know, normal in planting season. The fact that also you have, coupled with the logistic cost and the cost of actually producing this particular products, has already factored into or increased the prices of many of these produce. I think it's only for rice. The likes of flour, tomatoes, onions, a lot of those commodities have actually increased. But rice, we had seen a fall in the price of rice to about 29,000 per 50 kg bag. But generally, during this period, we do expect that commodity prices would inch up. But when it comes to demand, it's really up and down in the sense that, you know, incomes are still squeezed. We don't, you know, the hike in some of these prices are not, you know, very dramatic due to the fact that you have that resistance with demand.
Okay, so when we hear of planting season, it gives us hope that there'll be harvest.
Harvest, yes, exactly.
But when we talk about the deep in accessing farms and all of that, so one will ask where exactly are these planting activities
so it's actually a couple of factors. So generally, when you do have planting season, it also depends on the weather as well. So farmers would, you know, go in there, plant whatever they need to plant when it comes to agricultural produce, but, you know, harvesting this would be determined by, you know, what actually comes out of the, you know, of the soil, depending on the weather and other factors, you know, how much fertilizer goes into it, and, you know, how they actually look after these crops. So we do hope that, you know, the harvest season is buoyant enough to actually bring prices, and I think they will, as the trend has actually shown.
So which of the crops would you say, since there's the harvest season now, which ones are very consumable now when you talk of the price?
Well, you still have some that are consumable because, you know, with technology, you have some commodities that the people, like farmers, still plant even during the
off-season.
Yes, off-season. So it's, you definitely still have some of these commodities still in the market, but just not in abundance. So you do have the likes of flour, onions, tomatoes, pepper still in the market. But it's a different case when you get to that point where it's harvest season, where you see a lot of this, and that can actually drive the consumers actually have bargaining power.
And then we now talk about the issue of preservation, so that even when it's off season, we can still have abundance. Well, thank you so much. Is there any other thing that we've missed in the commodity space?
Well, just to watch out for oil prices. It's quite an interesting time.
Very interesting time. Thank you so much, Bolanle Agbaje, analyst with Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
This morning. We'll take a break now. When we come back from that break, we will be celebrating Forbes 30 Under 30 Innovative Entrepreneur. Find out who that is after the break. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. You're welcome back. Well, Forbes Africa has released its annual 30 Under 30 list, celebrating what it called visionaries of change and catalysts of innovation. Proudly Nigerian, Fatima Babakura is on that list and joins us to discuss as an innovative entrepreneur now, leading a new era of change in Africa, starting from Nigeria. Of course, she joins us virtually from Gombe State. Hi, Fatima. Good morning. Congratulations.
Hi, Amy. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Thank you for at least representing Nigeria. Tell us, I know you've gotten some awards before now. You've made your mark at being an entrepreneur and all of that. But how difficult or easy was it for you to stand out as a Nigerian? We have a lot of entrepreneurs in Nigeria. How easy or difficult was it for you to make it to this list?
To be very honest, I feel, if anything, authenticity is what got me here. So I'm unique in my own way. Being a Northern Nigerian woman, it's not very often that you see Northern Nigerian women coming out, even when they do business. You know, we're very reserved people. It might be a factor of the culture. So even when we do really, really well in business, you know, we don't really care about, you know, making it to lists like this or even just showing it out to the world. And so it just feels very great that I've been able to get here. And, it did take a lot of work, it's a lot of hard work that I put in the business over 8 years now.
Okay, so what would you say makes one an innovative entrepreneur?
I think definitely it's you thinking outside of the box. It's also you thinking of ways to tackle challenges as they come, right? And one thing I always say is, as Nigerians, because of the way that our country is and how our economy is, we suffer, but also still provide solutions to things. For example, we don't have light, but we still find ways to like get things done. We complain about it, but we just move, right? So at the end of the day, it's really just finding solutions, regardless of how hard or how difficult you think it is. It's just doing it.
So you started as an entrepreneur at the age of 19. How did you do it in the face of, as you've described, power is just one of it, a lot of policies, taxes, or was it in your mother's kitchen? How did you start it? I know you're into fashion. Maybe your mommy had a little bit of room for you to start. How was it for you starting off at 19 and sustaining it to this time?
Well, to be very honest, I started I'd say I started even before 19. So I started in 2013 when I just started uni, which was the year that I turned 18. But obviously didn't take it seriously until 2016. That was when it became a proper business. So I've always loved designing, sketching, clothing, bags, shoes for as long as I remember. And for me, it just, happened. It so happened one day that I drew a sketch of a handbag, and I really, really just wanted to see it come to life. And so I set out to find a manufacturer who was going to do it, did a quick Google search. At the time, I was in university in Canada. So I found a supplier on Alibaba who, was able to make me my sample. And then, I just took it off from there. I did try to manufacture in Nigeria around 2015. But as I said, it's quite difficult to do stuff like that here. There's the power issue. There's just artisans who are not, serious about the work that they do. They want micromanaging, but I was a student at the time and I couldn't handle that. So, yeah.
So what motivated you? Was it just an excitement, a passion, or was it the need for finances?
So for me, it was definitely not the need for finances because, as I said, when I started, I was just doing it. I was just having fun with it. I started because I've always loved handbags. I was a lover of luxury handbags before I started the brand. I'd always save up money to buy a Louis Vuitton bag. And so it just didn't make sense to me that there was no African brand on the market that, would compete with these really, really big brands. And I really wanted to do something about that. And so I set out to start my own brand that would be premium, same quality, if not better, that would compete with the world. And that was why I started. So it was a need to just see an African name out there.
Okay, so now would you say, you did say that you tried to do it in Nigeria, you couldn't meet up, but the government has been talking a whole lot about the ease of doing business, making the environment more friendly for entrepreneurs, startups, and we've seen like a burst of startups in Africa, in Nigeria. Would you say that there's been gains, we've had gains from the policies and the efforts of the government in making the business environment more friendly?
So, they say these things, but are they really executing it? That's the question. We do not have constant power supply. And for any business, that's the first thing that you need. I can't imagine buying machinery and bringing it here, but we can't use it because, we just don't have power. And that, lessens our productivity, right? Because, we have certain hours in the day and we just can't work throughout the whole day because we don't have, enough power. The second thing would be access to funding. They say these things, they talk about a lot of women empowerment programs, but do you really have access to it? And even when you do, how accessible is it? So for me, I think that they're talking about it, but I don't think that they've done enough. And the first thing that needs to be tackled is, just having power constantly. Yeah. That's really what I
Okay,
think.
so talking about power, incidentally, we discussed this on the program yesterday, how talking about renewable power, alternative power, and how private sector individuals would, one of the things you said at the beginning was how Nigerians will strive on in the face of hurdles. Don't you think the private sector help out? work with what we have and make the most of it?
Yeah, so I'm not really familiar with that sector, but I really think that if they put the right policies in place, there's no reason why the private sector would not run with it and just make it work for everyone in Nigeria, because that is a major challenge that we face here. And the private sector would do a lot better than what the government can offer Nigerians. Why not? Just put the right policies in place.
Okay, so now we celebrate you being a 30 under 30 listed by Forbes. But we do also expect from you to duplicate yourself in some other Nigerians, especially the young ladies. What are you doing about that?
So for one, I started a mentoring program. It's called TGR. I did stop last year because I got really busy, but it's something that I started in 2020. And it's really a platform that, I started just with the aim to help people in the accessories business, start their business and achieve global recognition. Just the way that I've started. I wish that I sought mentorship when I started, because if I had done that, I wouldn't have made a lot of mistakes that I did in the beginning. And so for me, just having a mentorship program that supports women, especially Northern Nigerian women, start up businesses and, become really successful in it is something that I look forward to doing. So yeah, I'm definitely bringing that back this year. Yeah.
So when you talk about accessories, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, we do have a lot of colorful accessories. So it's obviously an area that could really boom. But what do you see, or what do you see as the potentials? What about the creativity, the skills, and the capacity of these individuals that you have met? To just embrace it and run with it, and also the passion, to also get on this ship.
Yeah, so I've definitely met a lot of young women who are, inspired by what I do, who also are very creative. Even before meeting me or speaking to me, you see that they have put plans in place. You see the work that they do. It just needs a lot of, encouragement. It's just a little bit of work that needs to be done, showing them how to get funding if they don't already have access to it. It's also showing them how to take the brand global and not thinking on a local scale. It's really just that, but the skills are there. We have artisans in northern Nigeria who handmade stuff, and the world needs. There's a whole lot of need for handmade stuff in the world. So there's absolutely no problems when it comes to like the skills or like the access to raw materials, because Kano has a leather manufacturing plant where you have big houses buying leather from Nigeria. It's just, we need to be able to mentor the people who are interested so they know that, we don't really have to play small.
Yeah, but saying Nigeria to the world sounds really interesting, but I think one hurdle we've been having in that area has been the issue of packaging and quality. How do you think, even with these accessories, since you're in the fashion area, and those things that are not edible, because the edible has been a huge challenge for Nigeria. But at least in areas like that, how do we convince the world that they should, or they could, use our commodities, our accessories, and it's of good and high quality?
So that's exactly what I was saying with mentorship, right? Like branding is so important. So when you mentor people and explain to them what branding is and they truly, truly understand it, they realize that, there's no reason to stay small and just stay local. When you're competing with, the big brands of the world, you have to, worry about your quality. You need to worry about your finishing. What does it look like? Your packaging. Those are all things that fall under branding. And once you understand that, there's absolutely no reason why you don't stand out or even do better than the brands that, we buy from on a daily. So you just have to, work and actually like get them to notice you, really.
Get them to notice you. I like that. Blow your own trumpets. Thank you so much,
like
Fatima.
If you do the work, it's there, right?
Yeah. Fatima Babakura, congratulations to you once again for being one of the Nigeria's representative in the Forbes 30 under 30, also founder of Tima B. And we do hope to see you duplicate your good work and your talents in many others, even if it's starting from the north.
Thank you very much for having me in.
Good to have you. So now let's move to the market. Well, it's been a positive trade days for the market equities from Friday. Even though intraday yesterday it was negative, but at least it recovered at the close of the day. So the domestic bourse kicked off the trading week with positive sentiments following buying interest in MTN Nigeria. What markets, talking of a market giant, that's what MTN is. MTN sneezes and the market catches cold. The all-share index inched up by 0.34, and then we are back to the 53,000 level thanks to that. Consequently, the month-to-date and year-to-date returns advanced 0.2% and 24.3%. That's for year-to-date. Total volume, looking at the volume now, increased by 167% to 755.62 million. Also, the value was at 8.90 billion naira. Remember, yesterday, over 90 billion naira was added to the market, and it was exchanged in 4,297 deals. So it was a very green activity chart. Yesterday, FBN Holding was the most traded stock by volume and value, but that did not lift the banking sector up. The banking sector was in the red yesterday. It was down 0.42%. Consumers was also down yesterday. So we can say it was a mixed sectoral performance yesterday. Oil and gas was positive. Industrial was also positive. Insurance, banking, consumer goods, those were in the red yesterday. And market breadth as measured by the activity was positive. There were 19 gainers and 12 losers. We saw that Corn Oil and Pharma Deco topped the gainers list, while ABC Trans and Unilever were on the losers list. They recorded the most significant losses yesterday. We do hope that the market is back on the positive trend and this will be sustained. So let's move from the equities market now and see what happened in the fixed income market. For the fixed income market, we start the overnight lending rates expanded by 8 basis points to 7.1 in the absence of any significant funding. Do remember that we're expecting an auction on Wednesday. Well, we see here, this is the NSD OTC markets. The share index for that market was positive yesterday. Market cap was at 1 trillion naira after it went up to 761.24 points. That's what happened at the NSD market. The volume with 9 deals, so volume went up to 153,075, valued at 11.64 million naira. That's what happened at the NSD. Let's go to the fixed income market now and see what happened at Omo securities market yesterday. Only 36 deals. Well, I guess we should even celebrate that because the fixed income space has been kind of quiet for a while now. The February 21st, 2023, that securities that is maturing next year, February, had 4 deals. And then, I mean, the short-term deals are really getting attention. The one maturing in November this year had 32 deals, very attractive to investors at this time. We'll move from there to the CBN bills. There we see a whole lot of activity took place there, 144 valued at over 37 billion naira. Let's move over now to the bonds market and see how it traded yesterday for the federal government bonds. Let's see how that traded, if I can be helped there by my producer. All right, well, I guess that's okay. Let's just go track back a little bit and see what Mr. Rotimi Fakayejo, capital market analyst, has to say about the equities activities so far. Good morning, Mr. Fakayejo. Good to have you on the show.
Good morning.
Yeah, well, I was waiting for you earlier. I'd gone past the equities market, but I'll just go back because of you. So yesterday was another positive trading day for the equities market. Friday was one, yesterday the second one, after a trail of some negative sentiments. Has this come to stay?
Well, we can't really say because the market was hyped up yesterday by virtue of the gain we saw in MTN Nigeria. And I think with what is happening in that particular sector, we can boldly say that we may not see a reversal of what happened yesterday in MTN, but a likely continuous upward movement. And there's the stability that we have in few other sectors. I think that also may persist. So we most likely continue the trend that we are having. But in all, there is really nothing exciting to trigger any major positive upward movement as at this time. But we believe that the steady state, which the market is now, the stability that we are seeing, will most likely continue. And I think investors have nothing to fear, in spite of all the happenings here and there, political or whatsoever. So we still have the equity space is still very much safe for investment.
I mean, but when periods before the election are normally not that stable, there's money being taken from the market to fund this, and it comes in short while. So, I mean, is it really a stable time for the market?
Well, I think that period is yet to come because we may not really see that happening until maybe close to the last quarter of the year. That is, after we've seen all that has to be after the third quarter. So we may not really see that, but definitely it's going to happen because the uncertainty is going to be very much in the air. But we know that even when this happens, the market, the economy, and the country always weathers through.
Yes, just as Nigerians. So now that the market has started picking up, would you say this is a good time to get on board the equities market in Nigeria?
Well, there's always a good time for everybody because every day there are activities. Investors buy, some people want to sell, and some we have to buy. So it's always a good time because when you look at the service, dividend income that may come in time after the end of financial year, it's always very good to come in at this time now that the earnings season is over. Then also, we are approaching the half of the year, whereby some companies also pay interim dividend. So if anybody misses out on the full year dividend for some companies, for the few ones that I be paying, I think it's a good time to get prepared for that, so that we have it all in full, the interim dividend, and also ultimately the full dividend by the end of the financial year. So I think now is a good time to come in for people who can be patient. We are tired of having speculators in the market, and I think they are being thinned out gradually. So we welcome those who are ready to buy, and the equity market is the long-term market. So it's a very good time to enter the market now.
All right, Rotimi Fakayejo, looking for long-term and patient investors in the NGX. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
My pleasure.
We'll take a break now. After the break, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has he really escaped that vote of confidence from yesterday? Well, Juliana will tell us more about that after the break. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. Yeah, welcome back. We head straight to London now, where we want to ask if the dark clouds have passed over Prime Minister Boris Johnson. But I did listen in when Juliana was speaking to Ladi during Russia invasion, and she said it's not really over. Hi, Juliana. Good morning. So you did say he's a strong politician. Maybe this is it, but what now?
What now? That's a really good question. I think that's the question that a lot of political pundits have been pointing towards the Prime Minister this morning. He needed 180 votes to survive yesterday. He got 211, but some people say it's just not enough. 44% of his own MPs want him out, which means the Conservative Party is completely divided. As soon as that result was announced on British media at about 9 o'clock, the Prime Minister quickly summoned the media for a very hastily given press conference. I think for him and his team, he wants this to be all over. You know, nothing to see here. Let's move on and start delivering for the country. But unfortunately for Prime Minister, is he the man to do it? So many Tory MPs believe he isn't. Yes, 180 decided to vote against him yesterday, but some say that that is just the tip of the iceberg. And even his closest allies who were tweeting out messages of support, including the Chancellor and the Foreign Secretary and the Deputy Prime Minister and the Health Secretary, that they don't really believe he is the man to lead the party. Lots of historians have been out looking at the history books. Theresa May, she won a confidence vote with more of her MPs, but yet she was out of office within 6 months. Margaret Thatcher, she won quite a resounding victory, better than what Boris saw last night, and she resigned within 2 days. He won't resign, but how will they get him out? I think that's what a lot of parliamentarians are trying to lobby about across the Palace of Westminster today. Some say that the 1922 committee will have to change their rules so that there can be another vote to oust him within 12 months. There are also other investigations ongoing. There is a select committee hearing on whether or not standards have been debased under Prime Minister. So no, in short, but of course there's so much context. The dark cloud is certainly not over.
A whole lot of context. So, well, thank God we're here to follow that story and see which way it turns. Yeah. And then another story we started talking about yesterday was the rail strike. And now there are reports that EasyJet has been cancelling flights. What's the updates with that?
Well, yes, the travelling woes for tens of thousands of British passengers do continue. Today, there has been an announcement of more cancellations. EasyJet have cancelled about 33 flights. BA have also cancelled flights. It seems to be really affecting passengers that are trying to travel to or from Gatwick and Heathrow. However, it is affecting other airports across the country. Wizz Air, the Hungarian flag bearer, they've also cancelled about 50 flights, and it's a huge issue. At the moment, there are approximately 18,000 British holidaymakers with families, some of them, who are stuck on the European continent because they can't get back into the UK. And this is all about staff numbers. We know that the aviation sector had a pretty tumultuous year. They put loads of staff on furlough, but so many staff lost their jobs because they were so desperate, of course, to start making money back. They put out all of these cheap flights, asking people to come and pay for them, saying that they were ready to manage the capacity, but clearly they haven't been. And so we have heard from the Transport Secretary. He said he has been having serious meetings with aviation bosses, trying to make sure that they're prepared for the summer rush. But of course, summer is not going to get you home today. So lots of furious passengers, but hopefully some flights will be extended into the night and pushed over to other airlines so people will be able to get home.
Yeah, an abrupt way to end the holiday. Not very interesting for a lot of Britons and holidaymakers. Thank you so much, Juliana. I will talk to you again at 1:30 during Business Incorporated. Now let's head to the crypto space now. I think there's been an improvement from yesterday. I do hope that we'll continue to see your green markets all through the week, Laddie.
Yeah, but we're having quite a pullback this morning. Well, the extreme fear is that's where we see an improvement. Yes. Is at 15 points this morning, but we saw a massive pullback, a sudden drop there from Bitcoin this morning. Market cap, $1.22 trillion. That's down about 5.44% this morning. And we see volume traded from the sell-offs up about 40%. Bitcoin dominance, 46.31%. We see Bitcoin lost that 30,000 level, 29,535. It was trying to break that 32K, but we saw the bears actually hit some sell-offs there, taking the price down below 30,000 this morning. It's down 5%. Volume trade at $35.70 billion. We see Ethereum also struggling there. It's down more, about 7%. Volume trade at $20.17 billion. We see it's mostly red on the top odds by market cap. Just one here, eCash, up about 11.46%. So the KuCoin exchange actually settled most of their upgrades on their exchange. That might be propping up the price this morning. But we see BNB lost the $300 mark there at down by 8.90%. Cardano having that bullish run, but we're seeing a pullback this morning, a big one, down 8%. XRP 39 cents. Market is looking quite red this morning. Let's bring in Rume Ofi now, digital market analyst. Hello, Rume. Hello, Rume. Can you hear me? All right.
Good morning.
All right, Rume. Yeah, so you can hear me. Good morning. Great to have you, Rume. So we're seeing quite a sudden pullback in the market this morning. We saw Bitcoin lose that 30K range again, still within range. What's happening this morning?
All right. I think Bitcoin is the only market that, the cryptocurrency market is the only market that has been ranging lately. You see 29,000, 30,000, 32,000. It shows that there's a good interest over there. But you see what happened yesterday, the market was quite excited because about 9 weeks now, the market has, the weekly candle, the market has been down, but it's picking up lately. But today we see a pullback to about 29,500 as at now. And this is a result of the fact that the US SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, have come to say that the fifth largest cryptocurrency, which is BNB, owned by Binance, should be investigated for how they raised money for their ICOs as initial coin offering in 2017. So it shows that the Securities and Exchange Commission is being its satellite on cryptocurrency market in terms of regulation and how people should raise money when they start any project. And I think that Binance is going to share more light on that for the proper thing to be done. If possible, we're going to see some form of sanctions here and there, but it only means that the right thing to do should be done. So the space could be well arranged for now, as it's very young.
I guess BNB is taking the attention away from XRP because we know they've had that ongoing battle with the SEC, but now we're seeing BNB on the spotlight there. But the National Bank of Ethiopia has come out against Bitcoin and crypto, saying that its citizens should stop using, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies for transactions. It seems the heat, keeps piling up on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think my worry for this, the news from Ethiopia yesterday or so, is the outright ban. What I was thinking for governments in Africa should do as regards to their counterparts outside the continent is to bring the those involved, like stakeholders, together and chart a course forward on how to regulate this, if possible, or probably get data from all of these exchange platforms to know what is going on. For crying out loud, this industry is designed in a way where the exchange platforms, or if you look in the blockchain through the help of Chainalysis, you see transactions that go in is so transparent. You can't beat the system. Even if you try to do something funny, it's going to show the amount of money moving in and out. But the outright ban it has its own disadvantages because people are going to get more involved. It happened in our case here in Nigeria when the ban came up. You saw the figures from I don't know if you saw the figures from KuCoin and saying that from the last time Bitcoin and cryptocurrency were banned in some of these countries, the adoption has increased by 2,500%. And in Nigeria, about 16,000 transactions were done in 2021 just in a single day. It means that the outright ban is not the way to go. There should be some form of dialogue so that people understand where it's going and how to be able to manage it. Because if you ban it, there's a lot of alternatives that people are going to go through, which the government will find it difficult from getting the required data to be able to put regulations straight up.
And it looks like the people of Ethiopia are actually, trading more in cryptocurrencies and using them for transactions for the bank to actually be worried at this point.
Yeah, they're using it. And the fact that, although I don't have the data right now from Ethiopia, the fact that a lot of people are underbanked in Africa has the highest amount of people underbanked or unbanked as well. So people want to do transactions, sending funds here and there, or remittances purposes, which is very, very fast, So, but it creates also an opportunity for government since there are exchanges and the exchanges are centralized. So they could know the transactions that come in from the exchange and the ones that go out, so data can be provided. But now, people that don't have banks see an alternative for them to transact in cryptocurrency, receiving money and maybe flipping it for their the rare, which is their fiat currency over there. It makes it easy for them. It's also a clarion call for the government to improve on the financial sector, on the ease of doing business. Maybe they could come up with their own CBDCs going forward, but banning it actually, for me, I think it needs a redress.
And talking about, CBDCs, we know we've had the e-Naira for a while now. How are you seeing adoption, at this point?
Okay, for the case of Nigeria, it's quite different. The people have seen that the CBDC is a matter of trust between government and people, right? And they've seen it like, oh, you ban this because you have this. I think it's a situation whereby we have the right communication between the government and the players here. The government, I think this is exactly what Ethiopia is about to do. Don't ban outrightly. Bring these people and say, how can we chart the course forward? So they see that, oh, you have a plan to bring them to be able to get the required information from them to act before you bring out CBDCs. CBDCs are actually not as bad as it sounds, though. But when people are seeing that you are banning something that they think is more convenient for them and it's decentralized, although it has its own challenges, and you're coming up with a new technology, it sends a message to them. And in Africa, people don't trust the government, so the government needs to come up with structures that will make them the people see them, that they are coming sincerely and trust them going forward so that they can do this in a more harmonious way. I think it's really predominant with countries in Africa, and I think we need to have a reorientation that government, we are those of us that are the people, we are part of government, because all of these put together is what makes a country move forward. And there's a huge opportunity in this ecosystem that Africa needs to take advantage of, or we lose out. This is a new technology of 13 years.
Right, quite a lot to unpack with Bitcoin and the CBDCs. But looking at the market now, we've seen Bitcoin range for weeks now. Looking at your crystal ball, where do you see the bottom, Rume?
For me, I feel the bottom has been reached. For us to be ranging this long, it seems the bottom has been reached. I don't have a specific amount, but I'm thinking that this 29, 28, 29, 30, 32, that range, if we break up above it, we're going straight up to 40. But going further, you can see from historic analysis, anytime Bitcoin goes very low from all-time high, it doesn't go back to that all-time high. So people calling Bitcoin 8,000, 18,000, 20,000.
Yeah, so many calls right now.
It doesn't correlate. From history, when it goes back to when it gets to an all-time high, we see from 2017, 2018, it went to an all-time high of about 20K, then came back, right? So from another all-time high, which we've seen now, which is 69,000 plus, right? If it goes down, it doesn't really usually get to the other all-time high. Okay. It has happened from 2010 that way. So history will always repeat itself.
All right. Well, we'll keep watching and see where the real bottom is. Thank you so much, Rume.
Thank you very much, Laddie. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. So, and he headed there. It's all about the search for the bottom right now. Nobody knows where it is. Just speculations.
Yeah, well, interesting that you talked about e-Naira there, because from when it started to January 2021, we had about 700,000 downloads. But the problem is how many of those downloads are active.
Yes, this download really mean adoption, but that's another argument entirely.
All right, Laddie, thank you so much
for
the updates from that space, and that's it on the program this morning. Thank you so much for being a part of it. But do stay on with Channels Television. Remember, today's APC convention, so we know the flag bearer for the ruling party. So do stay here. We have all the gist for you, all the live broadcasts you will get to hear on Channels Television. I will see you tomorrow. I'm Ini John Mekwa.